Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel for another video. Today we are diving into a topic many of you have asked me about: homeschool schedules and routines. I get it. Figuring out how to structure your homeschool day or planning out your year can feel overwhelming, especially if you're new to homeschooling or if things just aren't clicking the way you hoped. So while I firmly believe there's no single right way to structure a homeschool schedule or routine, I want to share some tips that I hope will encourage you, ease any nerves you're feeling over this, and help you feel more confident in creating a routine that works for you and your family. And don't know me, my name is Sarah. I have and am homeschooling 4 kids. My youngest right now is 5. He will be 6 in December, and we are going to be doing kindergarten this year. We are doing kindergarten this year. My oldest is in 7th grade, and I have twin daughters who are actually 2 years younger than my oldest, but are doing mostly 6th grade work in our homeschool. I mentioned that I don't think that there is one single right way to structure a daily homeschool routine, and this is because I see this in action every year. We are constantly evolving and changing how we do things around here. I find this more so now that my kids are older. When they were younger, it was easier to stick to a routine each day because we didn't have as much going on, and I was able to control our schedule a bit more. When they were younger and not as independent, I was the one driving our daily routine, needing to keep all the things in order. But now that they're older, they have their own opinions and ways that they like to do things and ways that they learn best. And sometimes that drives a wrench into what I think our perfect routine should be. So I think you'll find that for the most part, if you're homeschooling younger kids, settling into some kind of routine is going to be slightly easier and also really helpful. I think it helps build some good habits and skills that will pay off when your kids are older and working more independently. So as you're thinking about your homeschool day and what you want that to look like, I wanted to give you some things to maybe just keep in mind, because I can't sit here and tell you what exactly your routine should look like, but I can share some things that I've learned over the years that could be helpful to you. Now, before I get into some of my tips for day-to-day routines, I did want to touch briefly on your actual homeschool yearly schedule. That's something that I do kind of schedule out because a few of you have mentioned to me that you want to see how to plan out the year and even maybe how to keep an attendance sheet. I'll be honest, I don't have to turn in attendance for our state homeschool requirements, but if you have to do this, it's really easy to keep track of. Let me show you 2 options that I think would be easy. First, you guys know that I absolutely love Homeschool Planet. This is an online homeschool planner, and each year as I'm setting up the new school year, they have a super easy calendar page where you can mark the days that you'll be doing school and the days that you won't, and it will update the total number of days as you go. So you can see in real time how many school days you're at in case you need to have a certain number of days or whatever. I printed this out. This page is a printout I made from last year. This is what it actually looks like. Well, pretty close to what it looks like on the computer when you go into Homeschool Planet to mark your days. So all of the days have green checks by default, but then when you start, you're going to specify your homeschool start and end dates, which days of the week will be school days and things like that. And then if there are days that you know you'll be taking off of school, you just click on them and they will turn to a red X. So even though I don't have to keep attendance, I like to do this because most curriculum is written for a 180-day schedule to be able to complete it in a year. So I kind of like to know that I'm on the right track with how many days I'm leaving us to do school. And I also like to give a little buffer to account for days I know are going to creep in, like sick days or spontaneous field trip days or whatever. If you don't want to use an online planner, you can go the paper route. This right here is a printable that I made to track attendance. It is up on my blog as part of a portfolio printable, but you can find them all over the place online or make one yourself. It just shows all of the months down the side and then the days of the month are in the columns. So you can probably imagine, just stick this wherever you will see it each day and mark a little check or X in each box when you do school that day. Simple. And I will also add that before I used Homeschool Planet, I would begin by planning out our year by taking a year at a glance calendar that looked kind of like this, and I would count out my days and plan them out pretty much the same way. So I hope that helps a little bit if you're needing to keep track of attendance. If you're new to homeschooling, definitely make sure you're familiar with your state homeschool requirements and whether or not you need to track attendance or hours or things like that. Okay, so once you have a plan made for your schedule for the year, you might be tempted to start planning out a specific schedule for your homeschool and planning out how you want your days to run. Well, if you've been homeschooling for even a little while, you probably already know that the best laid plans do not often go as planned. Each year, I love coming up with what I think will be the perfect homeschool routine. You know, when you're in those planning stages and you've got the new curriculum rolling in and everything is new and exciting, I start thinking about how I'm gonna fit everything into our schedule, and I create this schedule of exactly, when we're gonna start school in the morning, what our mornings will look like, what we're gonna get done before lunch, then after lunch, all those types of things. It feels really good to make this schedule, but literally every year we make it about 2 days in and it goes completely out the window. But that's okay, because I've learned that I can let myself make these plans because it feels good and it helps me feel more in control and that I've got it all together. But one of the biggest and most valuable lessons I've learned over the years is to embrace flexibility. This can be really hard lessons for us type A'ers to learn. But hear this, your homeschool routine does not have to be the same every day or every week, and you don't even have to finish all of the curriculum that you start. It sounds like a great idea to plan out a schedule like, okay, we're gonna wake up, get ready, have breakfast done by 8 a.m., then do morning basket for 30 minutes, then do 30 minutes of math, and so on. And this might work for some people, but what happens when one of your kids needs an extra hour of sleep and they don't wake up on time? Or they become so excited about the linear equations they're solving that they want to spend an hour on math that day. Well, you can either get frustrated and feel like a failure, or you can realize that your day of learning doesn't have to, and most likely won't, fit into any box you can pre-plan. It took me a while to learn this, especially as a former teacher who really likes schedules, but eventually I realized that flexibility is key. So instead of a rigid schedule, we have more of a routine that gives us structure, but also allows us to go with the flow. So if we spend an extra 20 minutes on a science experiment because the kids are really into it, that's okay most days. If we decide to take a spontaneous field trip because it's a gorgeous day outside, or we get an invite from friends, we do it if we want to. Being flexible allows you to adapt to the needs and interests of your kids, which is going to lead to just a better and more enjoyable homeschool experience overall for you and your kids. When you're creating a routine, it could be as simple as making a list of all the things you want to get through in a school day. When I make our routines, I put the most important things at the top of the list, so I make sure we get them done first. There are no time commitments. We just begin at the top of our list and work our way through. The goal is to get through everything on the list, but naturally, it doesn't always work out that way. This is where that flexibility comes in, and there's a few different ways that I handle this. So let's say we don't get to our science lesson one day. Depending on the lesson, I might decide to just skip it. You can do that. Or I might decide to move the lesson to the next day and just shift all of our lessons. Or if we have the extra time, maybe we double up on science another day. There are a lot of options, and usually I just make that call in the moment. A lot of homeschoolers will use what's called a loop schedule to navigate these types of challenges. And while sometimes our schedule resembles a loop schedule, I can't say we strictly abide by one, but they're a great concept. What you do with a loop schedule or routine is basically rotate through a list of subjects or activities rather than assigning them to specific days of the week. For example, you might begin each day with core subjects like math and language arts, but then create a loop for subjects like science, history, art, foreign language, etc. Instead of stressing over getting everything done every single day, you simply do what you can and then pick up where you left off in your loop the next day. This approach can be really freeing because it takes away the pressure of feeling like you have to check off every single box on your to-do list each day. If you don't finish everything in one day, it's okay. Just pick up where you left off the next day. It's about progress, not perfection. It's about taking the time to learn and not just cramming down information and checking off boxes. Now, if you like checking off boxes, this might be hard for you, just saying, but it's a great way to structure a routine if you are looking for a way to get started. I do think it's really important not to get stressed out if you don't complete everything on your schedule, because it's so tempting to think that if we skip a lesson or a chapter in the book, that our kids will be behind or miss out on something crucial. That was a big misconception I had to overcome, and it's so freeing once you realize that this is simply not true. Let go of that perfectionism. Trust me, you won't create huge learning gaps if you don't finish every single task. In fact, we'll be lucky if our kids remember the things that we do teach them each day, right? I don't know about you, but there's so much that I learned in school that I don't remember, and it's mainly because we rushed through learning it or because I didn't care. And if there's something I need to know now, well, I'll learn it. So be flexible, let go of perfectionism, and learn how not to be a slave to the curriculum when you don't need to be. Okay, next, let's talk about customizing your homeschool routine for your family. This is such an important point because, like I said earlier, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to homeschooling. What works for my family might not work for yours, and that's totally okay. That being said, we can learn from one another, but it's so important not to compare or try to force your family into a mold that isn't going to work for you just because you see someone else doing it. I'll probably talk about this in an upcoming video, but here's an example. Morning baskets. So many homeschool families love them and have created a great morning time with their family and their kids. And for the life of me, I just cannot figure out the whole morning time thing. As much as I want for all of us to come together in the morning and do our Bible memory and read poetry and all the morning basket type things, I just cannot make it work. Now, do I think it's a great concept? Absolutely. And I went into this school year determined that we were going to do morning time together. It is not looking at all how I dreamed it to be. In fact, we are doing a lot of what I had planned for morning time during lunch. So, still trying to figure things out and make some things work for our family, but it's just not going to look like everyone else's morning basket or morning time looks. So, I could feel like I'm a failure because I can't nail down the supposed ideal morning time, but instead, I'm paying attention to my kids and what works best for them. Your kids are going to have their own preferences, their own learning styles, and times that they learn best as well. So your routine is going to become unique to you, and it's going to be something you almost have to learn as you go, and by just jumping in and doing a little bit of trial and error. Something that I absolutely love utilizing though, and what has helped me keep our days running smoothly through the years I've homeschooled, are checklists. First, paper checklists, and now that my kids are older, a digital homeschool planner. I am a huge fan of using tools like these to keep our homeschool day organized. They've been a lifesaver for me, especially as my kids have gotten older and started taking more responsibility for their learning and movement throughout their day. When my kids were younger, I used paper checklists to keep track of what we needed to get done each day. I actually did a video a while ago about my homeschool checklists. If you want to learn more about those and how I use them, I recommend you go check out that video. But basically, I'd write out the day's tasks and they'd check them off as they completed them. It was simple and a great way to keep everyone on track and give my kids ownership and a sense of accomplishment as they checked off each item on the list. Now, this has really worked for us because My kids are motivated by the fact that they don't get electronics unless they are done with their checklist each day for school and their chores. Now, have there been days where they moped around and avoided schoolwork? Yes, of course, but I will say that there have been few of these because this was a routine we established very early on, and my kids know what this means. Even now with my kindergartner, the past couple of weeks as we've started our new school year, prior to this, he would have a little bit of a looser schedule and he might play on the iPad or watch a show in the morning while I worked with the older kids. Well, not anymore. He knows now that there aren't any electronics or things like that until we get our schoolwork done together. That's just something that works for us and we don't waver from it. So if you're going to try implementing checklists in your homeschool, I definitely recommend setting some boundaries and sticking to them, but make it personal to your kids. And I'll also add that sometimes my kids need a break from schoolwork during the day and they want to go outside and play with the dog or whatever, and that's fine. I kind of give them that responsibility to make those decisions. When they have that checklist to help them move through their day, they know exactly what needs to get done, and so this just helps give them more responsibility, more ownership, and more control over how they want to get things done. As my kids have gotten older, we have obviously moved to using Homeschool Planet for our checklist, which has been even better. I highly recommend trying them out. I will leave a link in the description so you can grab a free trial. But the kids log in and they see what they need to do each day. They see their checklist right there. It's easy for me to create our lesson plans, move things around as needed. There's that flexibility piece. We move things around a lot and I feel okay about it because it's so easy to do using Homeschool Planet. This is essentially the backbone of our homeschool routine right now because my kids can see their assignments each day and just start working through their list. And I have it set up so, like I said, I put those most important subjects at the top. So they really just have to start at the top and work their way down in their tasks. I know a lot of moms don't necessarily like having to have their kids log in online to see their schedule. So if that's you still want to use this, you can also print off the to-do list each week for your kids and they'll have that paper copy. But finding tools like this that work for you and help you make your homeschool day run more smoothly is so important. Okay, to wrap this up, I've got one more key component of creating a homeschool routine that works for you, and that is to extend grace to yourself and your kids. Homeschooling is a journey, not a race. There will be days when not everything gets done, and that's okay. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that we need to do it all and do it perfectly, like there even is a perfect way to do it. It's simply not realistic. It's so important to remember why you're homeschooling in the first place. You've probably got a lot of reasons, but I bet part of it is to be with your kids, to watch them learn and grow and create memories with them. Giving them space to explore, make mistakes, and learn at their own pace is so beautiful. And you'll probably find that many days that means letting go of your plan and just being present in the moment. So worth it. So if you're worried about what your homeschool schedule or routine is going to look like, or worried that you're not going to have it all together when you first start out, take a deep breath and give yourself some grace. No one has it all figured out immediately or even at all, but each day we learn a little bit more and we make changes as we go. You'll do an amazing job. You are doing an amazing job, and no matter what your schedule looks like, your kids are lucky to have you as their teacher. So there you have it, just a few tips that I hope help you feel a little bit more confident about creating your perfect homeschool routine, one that works best for you and your kids. I hope you found this helpful and have some ideas that you can take and make work for your family. If you like this video, you know what to do. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below, and don't forget to subscribe for more homeschooling tips and encouragement from fellow homeschool mom in the trenches with you. And as always, if you have any questions or tips of your own, drop them in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.